Welcome everybody to the Daily Intimacy. Really happy to be here today, Tuesday, October 14th. Is that the right date? Yeah. No, the 13th. No, it's the 14th. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's the kind of thing when you hit record, it's like impossible to think of the actual date unless I'm looking.
I'm gonna go with 13th.
I'm gonna go with 13 also, yeah, because I think the 14th is Wednesday.
Lucky 13.
Exactly. So great to hear from you guys in the chat. Keep on going. Welcome, Carolyn. Really nice to see really nice to see a bunch of you that are here for the first time and old friends that I haven't seen in a while. Okay, we are going to dive right in with a brief centering because this morning we're going to be welcomed and I like Doug's word, floating to the music of the harmonium. And we're going to use that as our centering meditation. So I don't want to use too many words. I just want to take a moment to have us ground together and be here. And then I'm going to turn it right over to Adam for some music to begin. So wherever you are and however you are, I invite you to have a deep breath. A nice exhale. And let's do that again together. Breathing into the nose, bringing the breath all the way down, if you can, to the belly, to the root chakra. Deep as you can get it this morning, and then exhale. Sound or a sigh. And just bring yourself to the moment. A nice way to do that is when you exhale, just letting go of the past. Lately, I've been really practicing the completely letting go, like the past, it has nothing to do with right now, and bringing myself right to this moment, this breath, this belly, my feet on the ground. So I invite you into that space, relaxing shoulders, relaxing your belly. Any little stretches you need to make to be here and to be more present. And as you do that, we will slowly begin to hear some music from Adam and more introduction to Adam later. The music is the best introduction to Adam. You can sing along, respond, lie down, relax.
Be here now. Be here now. Baba said love everyone, serve everyone, feed everyone, and remember God. Baba said love everyone, serve everyone, feed everyone, and remember God. Jai Shri Neem Karoli Baba, 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 Love, serve, and remember. Love, serve, and remember. Love everyone and tell the truth always. Love everyone and tell the truth always. Jai Shri Neem Karoli Baba, 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 Jai Shri Neem Karoli Baba. That's a little portion of a song that dropped in on me the night that I heard Ramdas left his body last winter solstice. A little connection to one of our family guides. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Adam. That was beautiful. I hope we're going to do some more music. Yeah. Like while we're here. Do you want to do one more before we dive into words, or do you want to
As you like.
To the I Ching?
As you like. I can always sing some more.
Yeah, I would say let's sing a little bit more.
All right.
And then we'll dive into speaking.
I am healing, I am healing, I am healed. I am safe and peaceful in my body. I am healing, I am healing, I am healed. I am safe and peaceful in my the outside world heartbreaking as it feels is the perfect place I'm meant to be. The outside world heartbreaking as it feels, it's the perfect place I'm meant to be. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. I am happy, I am seen, and I am known. Everywhere I go, I feel at home. I am happy, I am seen, and I am known. Everywhere I go, I feel at home. I am blissful, I am conscious, I am true. Love is the essence of my nature. I am blissful, I am conscious, I am true. Love is the essence of my nature. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. Guidance and protection is my daily bread. Safe is the path I walk along. Guidance and protection is my daily bread. Safe is the path I walk along. Every day I'm blessed to be alive, bowing humbly to the cosmos. Every day I'm blessed to be alive, bowing humbly to the cosmos. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda. Hari Om Tat Sat Satchidananda.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Nothing like a blast of heart energy first thing in the morning.
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for coming today. It's so nice to have you here.
Thanks for the invitation. Nice to be here. Nice to see you. Nice to be with everyone.
Yeah. Adam and I met a long time ago now.
It's true.
Yeah, like more than 10 years ago. So I think I'd like to just dive right in so we have, ample time for the I Ching, which is something I know you've been with for a long time, like a long time, and still something I don't know really anything about. And I don't know, whatever you have to say, I know it will be lovely and deep and wise. And so I welcome you and what you're bringing today.
Thank you. Yeah, the I Ching is actually really the longest um, relationship I've ever had with a teacher. Really, is the I Ching. I consider it. There's something alive in that practice, and I've had a number of good teachers in my day, but the first and longest one has been the one that is somehow enclosed in this book, this old Chinese book of changes. That's what the I Ching basically translates to. So it's a map of the processes of change and transformation in the world. And it does that partly by using imagery from the outside world, rain, wind, fire, water, mountain, things like this, and exploring the different aspects of these energies and the different ways they can be in relationship with each other as a way of expressing the kind of multivariant amazeballs miracle that is life on planet Earth. And it's sort of a study of nature and of human nature. And and I got first turned onto it by my father when I was a teenager. When I was, I think, probably 15 years old, he gave me we talked about it, and he turned me onto it. And then when I was 16, he realized that I was really getting into it, and he wasn't really doing it that much in his life anymore. And so he gave me his old copy of the Wilhelm Baines translation, which is the classic translation in the field. And I just picked it up and ran with it. And a year or two later, when I discovered my first sort of spiritual community, my first healing community, where I was growing up in Cambridge, where I got turned on to massage and healing work and breathing exercises, it turned out everybody was into the I Ching in that circle also. So I found kind of a tribe of kindred spirits, and that really catalyzed my immersion into the I Ching as a source of wisdom, as a counselor, as an embodiment of righteous living principles and practices. It's hard to do it in a brief little window, but we could say at some level that the I Ching represents sort of a fusion of the heart of the Taoist teachings, which are really about living in the natural flow of life, being soft and flexible like water, which flows everywhere, fills up every low space, and eventually gets to wherever it's going without having to push anything. It's as simple as just going with gravity and expressing our own nature. And it sort of merges that beautiful nature-based perspective of living in alignment with reality with what Confucius brought in 1,000 or 2,000 years later, which is a real emphasis on kind of right conduct, on living according to our dharma, to use a word from a different tradition. How do we express ourselves? How do we fulfill our duty to the world around us, to not just those who love us and those we love, but to the people who are influenced by our behavior in the world, no matter what it is? How do we live a dharmic life? How do we live in alignment with principles of decency and generosity and kindness and love, so that the effect we have on those around us is a positive one? And so you merge this sort of emphasis on kind of a right livelihood of energetic expression with a leaning into the river of life and the natural wisdom that it has when it comes to just being in the living miracle that nature and life and the earth provide us. And those are sort of these twin pillars of awareness and perspective that the I Ching kind of embodies. And because it's an oracle tradition, it's not just a bunch of words on a book and you thumb the pages and, point one and hope it is apt. There's a way that we can bring our questions, bring our challenges, bring our messes, bring the things that we totally, messed up and need to repair, like the real stuff of life. We can bring our personal situations to it and ask for guidance. And sometimes it gives us something that's, takes some digging around to really understand how it applies. And sometimes it's just a bullseye to the heart of what we know to be true inside of us. And its articulation of that often comes at a time which can be nothing short of staggering and inspiring, as yeah, it's a deep thing. um, and as I say, I think there's something. It's not just one of the oldest books in the world. It's not just one of the oldest living wisdom traditions and oracle traditions that survives the archaic period on the planet. It's probably 3 to 5,000 years old, depending on where you slice your origin story. But it's also alive in some way, like life is alive. And when we come to it with an open heart and a willingness to learn, a willingness to see, like, am I living in alignment with my heart? Or are there ways in which my small minded, selfish perspective is actually running my reactions in a way that maybe isn't what I would choose if I really put my heart to it, Because let's face it, we are all beings who have adapted to surviving, maybe thriving, maybe surviving in a culture and in a society which in some ways is profoundly ill. It's not a healthy place we live in some ways. I mean, in some ways it's gorgeous, beautiful, everything's perfect. But in another way, just look around at the society and we see that what we have had to adapt to in order to survive or thrive often means that we are negotiating a strange and unwell environment in order to find our footing and have a little safety and security and a platform that we can survive in. And so the ways that we have learned to adapt aren't always, we can't count on our adaptations to necessarily be in alignment with the highest and the truest and the most humble and the most embodied. Sometimes we picked up stuff that helps us survive, but actually isn't healthy itself. And so, the self-examined life, the life of anyone who is trying to awaken and trying to remember our true nature and trying to let that show in how we operate in the world, we soon enough we come across the reality that we have work to do, that I am an imperfect, while I am a perfect soul on one level, I'm also an imperfect being who's running into the places where I need to do my own work. I need to bring more awareness into how I travel through the world so that the people who I love know that they're loved by me, and the people who I encounter can count on me as an ally in the good work of being kind and loving in the world. And the I Ching is a great mirror for those places where my own work is ongoing. It's kind and gentle, but also a little bit of a splash of cold water when we need it. And all good things in all good times. So whatever whatever we need, it often gives us that. And I found it an invaluable companion. And whereas occasionally the teachers who have been so important in our life in the regular world, they're usually human also. Sometimes we run into those clay feet and we're like, oh no, do I have to throw all these teachings out with a bathwater because it turns out this teacher's actually not living up to the highest ideals. That happens all the time. And I've never had the I Ching disappoint me by sleeping with one of its students or by doing anything else that's outside the bounds of, like, proper behavior. And so in that sense, it's a clear channel that's unsullied by the heartbreaking parts of ourselves. And any of us could be any of those people. I mean, we're all inside of us, right? We've all got Hitler somewhere inside of us just waiting to come out. I don't want to believe it, and sometimes I don't believe it, but the truth is we've all got Trump lurking somewhere in our liver, and so we have to do that work to flush out those parts of us that we would like to show the door, so that we can radiate the amazingness that we each are, that we all are. So I don't know. That's a tiny wrap on the I Ching. Poke and prod me from there.
I have a question. Poke and prod you from here. Yeah. Well, so like, how does it work? What is it like tangibly, physically? Can you give us a demonstration? Maybe someone can ask a question.
Sure. The process itself takes probably longer than we have in here, although I love doing that. So, if we have a longer period some other time, then I think that's good. But basically, we can either come to it with a clear question, I'm having an issue with this person in my life, how do I best handle this? How do I best navigate this thorny situation? Give me some advice on this or that, particular topic. And then there's a couple different methods to approach it. There's a yarrow stock method. There's also a coin method. So you take 3 coins and you basically, sort of cast them. It's a way of sort of inviting the random, the synchronistic, the cosmic to sort of influence how these coins land. And depending on whether they land heads up or tails up, there's a few different ways that the lines can show up. The lines represent the primal powers of the yin and the yang and their relationship with each other. You build a little house, a little what they call hexagram. It's a 6-line thing. So each one of those cosses of the coins generates 1 line. You do that 6 times. There's 64 different situational readings called hexagrams that represent kind of the fullness of human experience in the world. And because each of those lines, any of those lines, all of those lines, depending on the situation, can be what we call changing lines. Any one situation can morph into any other situation. And so whatever 64 squared is, you actually have an enormous variety of situations can get kind of mirrored back. And the different commentaries have various insightful, kind of sometimes piercing counsel pertaining to not just good fortune and misfortune, but how it is that we can live in alignment with these cosmic forces, with the Tao, with the natural way. And so that's kind of a little bit, that's a quick on how you would come to it with a question, how you would consult it, and then you read whatever, you get a particular reading that corresponds with however your coins fell. And then, usually that kicks off a robust conversation and dialogue, either within myself, if it's just me and my coins and my own meditation practice, or if I'm sitting with Andrew or I'm sitting with you, Robyn, or anyone, and we're wrestling through your situation, then we kind of look at it together. And honestly, for the first stretch of months or years, mostly I was looking at it just thinking, what is this thing talking about? Like, I really don't know what this is talking about. It's another language, it's from another era, another culture. Like, everything about it is literally foreign to my nervous system. But after a while, you start to see the patterns, and I started to map some of the relational connections between the different pieces, and I started to feel more comfortable in that milieu of I Ching life. And so often when I'm working with a client or a friend and we're digging into it, I'm often acting as the translator, because people who are coming at it fresh are more in that place that I was 40 years ago, which is, what on earth is happening here? And I'm able to be like, oh no, I've seen that line before. This is referring to that kind of situation. Or you asked about this. This line reflects that to me. And then it's kind of a give and take. It's an open, living conversation around what is resonating within us as we read whatever it is that came to us because of the way our moment met the earth moment in the way that these coins fell at this time with this question. And it's an iterative process too. So I always keep a journal, and sometimes I go back and read things and extract much more meaning and perspective, a day or three later, a month or three later, than I was able to get at the time. Because one of the I Ching qualities is that it is not bound by time in the same way we are. So often what you see if you get into it for any amount of time is that it can kind of see around corners to what's coming. And often I go back and read something later that day or the next day or two, and what it showed me was what was coming that I didn't recognize. And when I ran into that situation later that afternoon, I may or may not have remembered that I had read something that was very specifically advising me about how to handle that sort of situation. And so it's a learn while making mistakes kind of path, because that's just the nature of life, right? We learn while doing. And some of the most potent learnings that any of us have had have been by completely screwing something up and realizing how painful that is and how important it is to us to try to live in a way that doesn't cause that sort of heartache with each other, in myself or with my relations with you. And that's often the best way to learn, is by being humbled and realizing, okay, I am capable of that. That's not who I want to be. How do I live better? How do I live more in alignment with what I feel to be true, kind, loving? And, we pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and, and get up for another round,
I have a question.
Shoot.
And I also want to invite people to put questions in the chat. Mitchell asked, is the guide to interpretation in the I Ching book, or is it called the I Ching? Am I getting that question right, Mitchell? Is the guide to interpretation in the I Ching book? Oh, yeah, I assume.
The I Ching is basically a lot of text and commentary, and the interpretation is sort of on us. So it interprets what's happening, but then we interpret what it is saying about what's happening. And often, Mitchell, you and I might look at something and have slightly different views on it. You might be like, that reminds me of this, or that makes me think of this. And I'm like, that's funny, because what comes up for me is this other thing. And so it's not so much that there's one proper interpretation. Often the real import of the practice is that it opens up reflective territory that we can use to kind of track down our own memories, dreams, reflections, constructs of the world, places that I hold on and grip that I might want to loosen up, or places where I'm too slack that I might want to tighten it up, whatever it is. These interpretations ultimately are within our nervous system. And so the book is an interpretation of the reading, and then we interpret that in a sort of nested awareness bubble that hopefully, keeps leading us inward and keeps unfolding for us our own sense of what feels natural and true and right and good in terms of our behavior in the world, the way we act in the world.
Okay, so Arlene has a question which fits right there. Have you asked the I Ching what we are supposed to learn from the pandemic, or any other question about the pandemic?
Good question. I don't think I've really asked it that globally. I don't think I've asked that question that sort of universally.
So have you asked anything for yourself that you can share? I'd love it, like a little example. Like, I know you can't do a whole reading, but I'm curious if you could give us a specific example for yourself, or do a little tiny piece maybe of somebody's question, someone who's here. Maybe that question that Arlene just asked. I mean, that's the question of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the I Ching is it's hard to do tiny slices, and I don't want to
Yeah.
I don't want to cheapen or undermine anyone's experience by trying to like grab something. But I'll share something that I threw just a day or two ago. I just launched an online course, my first online course on anything actually, this past Sunday, on working with the I Ching. And so I threw a hexagram before beginning that morning, kind of praying for guidance and help, and asking for, some kind of a blessing or some sort of message in relation to that. So I can share some of that. Um, Although I wasn't really prepared for this, so I'm not sure which parts to read, but I'll just
The
read some of
most vulnerable parts.
yeah, well, sure, right. But I'll just read with some of a portion of the reading. I won't try to go through the whole thing. But one of the hexagrams I threw was hexagram 16, enthusiasm. And enthusiasm, entheos is to be filled with the breath, right? To be filled with theos, to be filled with the divine. So enthusiasm as an emotion is actually a very cosmic emotion. And so hexagram 16 speaks a little bit of that. It says enthusiasm, it furthers one to install helpers, excuse me, and to set armies marching. The time of enthusiasm derives from the fact that there is at hand an eminent person who is in sympathy with the spirit of the people and acts in accord with it. Hence, he finds universal and willing obedience. To arouse enthusiasm, it is necessary for a person to adjust themselves and their ordinances to the character of those whom they have to lead. The inviolability of natural laws rests on this principle of movement along the line of least resistance. These laws are not forces external to things, but represent the forces, the harmony of movement immanent in them. These laws are not forces external to things, but represent the harmony of movement immanent in them. This is why celestial bodies do not deviate from their orbits, and why all events in nature occur with fixed regularity. It is enthusiasm that enables us to install helpers for the completion of an undertaking without fear of secret opposition. And then this next part I love. Thunder comes resounding out of the earth, the image of enthusiasm. Thus the ancient kings made music in order to honor merit and offered it with splendor to the supreme deity, inviting their ancestors to be present. The commentary says, when at the beginning of summer, thunder, electrical energy, comes rushing forth from the earth again, and the first thunderstorm refreshes nature, a prolonged state of tension is resolved. Joy and relief make themselves felt. So too, music has power to ease tension within the heart and to loosen the grip of obscure emotions. The enthusiasm of the heart expresses itself involuntarily in a burst of song, in dance and rhythmic movement of the body. From immemorial times, the inspiring effect of the invisible sound that moves all hearts and draws them together has mystified mankind. Rulers have made use of this natural taste for music. They elevated and regulated it. Music was looked upon as something serious and holy, designed to purify the feelings of people. It fell to music to glorify the virtues of heroes, and thus to construct a bridge to the world of the unseen. In the temple, people drew near to God with music and pantomimes. Religious feeling for the creator of the world was united with the most sacred of human feelings, that of reverence for the ancestors. The ancestors were invited to these divine services as guests of the ruler of heaven and as representatives of humanity in the higher regions. This uniting of the human past with the divinity in solemn moments of religious inspiration established the bond between God and man.
Wow.
The ruler who revered, couple quick more lines.
Yeah, it's
The
beautiful.
ruler who revered the divinity in revering his ancestors became thereby the Son of Heaven, in whom the heavenly and the earthly world met in mystical contact. These ideas are the final summation of Chinese culture. Confucius has said of the great sacrifice at which these rites were performed, He who could wholly comprehend this sacrifice could rule the world as though it were spinning on his hand.
Hmm.
So, that's just a portion of what's going on. There's other things that are a little bit more specific, but sometimes you just go down these rabbit holes of, super cosmic, large scale, um, sort of
Yeah.
philosophical ideas. But I always loved this. This is the place in the I Ching where it talks about the sacred nature of music. This idea that it allows us to sort of access these obscure emotions in the heart and allow us to find voice for those. Sometimes just in the way we weep when we hear a beautiful song, or there's something in the way that our heartstrings, our being can loosen and vibrate and resonate in the presence of the sacred, in the presence of sacred music. That's always felt inspiring to me. So anyway, there are other elements of that particular reading, but yeah. Anyway.
There's so much richness there. Like there's so many places, just for me, in a sentence or two would then require meditation, journaling, integrating, processing and integrating.
Absolutely, which is why the I Ching practice is such an amazing element of our own meditations, because it really gives us something to chew on.
For
It's
sure.
sometimes when it's just like me and my brain and a whole bunch of blank slate time, I can drive myself a little nutter sometime trying to track all that stuff. But when I have something to kind of hang my hat on, something to really reflect on, and the I Ching is nothing if not an awful lot to reflect on, and also just what it is to get ourselves to a place where we feel in the right mood to throw the coins. Like that can take some time also. I've had situations where I'm like, I've got 10 minutes before a big meeting. I want to get a hit of consciousness before this meeting starts because it's an important one. I'll quickly throw the coins, quickly do a reading. I'll check this out more later. Sometimes, but most of the time, I'd rather actually sit for several minutes or maybe even a bunch of minutes and kind of let my nervous system ground and settle. And the whole formulation of the question, what do I actually want to be asking today? What are the fine-grained nuances of the situation that I really am asking for help with?
Yeah.
So, the I Ching doesn't, sometimes it does actually just give us the answer. Actually, it really does do that sometimes. But what it really does most of the time is help us to hold and embody our own selves so that the answer for us, the true thing for us, has some space to arise and a place to bubble up into and be held and noticed. And yeah, so it is a meditation practice. It is an invitation to that deeper, as you say, that deeper, like, let me sit with this, let me chew on this for a minute. What is that saying? And it can take hours, man. These readings can gobble up hours. That's why like
Yeah, I can see
sliding
that.
sliding a quick one into 40 minutes doesn't always
Right.
serve the moment.
Jump on in, Andrew. So Andrew's got a question and maybe some more music. But go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, actually, it was just some comments. Adam and I knew Adam was interested in the I Ching, and we just kind of connected recently on it again. So I'm actually pretty interested in taking this course. But I've also studied the I Ching for quite a while. But I've never done a daily practice. But I had 3 reflections. One was that the reading that you just did was around you're getting ready for this course. And one of the amazing things about the I Ching is that there are other hexagrams that would be talking about completely different things that had nothing that were not applicable at all. And yet he hits right on the one that's applicable, that he can draw associations with it too. And that blows me away all the time. You're asking this particular type of question and you happen to get that type of hexagram coming up. The second part was this, this idea, just to explain to people a little bit more in terms of the situations. You have the 64 situations, but the changing lines actually tell you where you are in that situation. So you can actually, okay, I'm in this type of situation, but are you at the beginning of that situation? Are you at the end of that situation? Or have you overgone through that situation? So that's kind of cool. And then the other thing I had to say was that there can also be like these intuitions. The other day I had someone here visiting and that sort of thing. And I just had this call to go over to the book and open it to a page. So I wasn't even throwing the coins or going through the whole process and everything else, but in listening to your inner voice and just saying, okay, and it was amazing. It was totally amazing. It opened right up to this situation, in fact, that this person and I have chosen each of the trigrams. So one of us has one trigram and the other one has the other trigram, and we use them as symbols in our relationship. So it's just multifaceted, and it's really beautiful. So just thank you very much for doing this.
Beautiful. Thank you, Andrew. It's you've had a long enough relationship with it that you have been touched by the depth and responsiveness of the practice. It is pretty amazing. Yeah, well, if you feel inspired to join the course, man, it'd be great to have you aboard. We have late registration goes for another couple days, I think through the 16th. We had the first class on Sunday. I'm doing it live style, so it's 90 minutes together, not just a sort of talking head one way coming at you kind of thing. So there's still time to catch up, watch the first one, and get on board for this coming Sunday. And if anybody has any interest, you can find out more information at my website, iamadambauer.com.
And I'll send that out later as well. But yeah, cool. That's awesome. Congratulations on your first online course.
Yeah, it's been super fun, actually.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd love to dive into some more music. Unless anybody has a burning question right now for Adam, please put me in the chat and then you can unmute yourself. And certainly you are welcome to ask. I'm not rushing or ushering us along, but just checking in. Yeah, let's do some more music and then we'll have a closing.
Sounds good. Before I sing again, let me just say thank you, Robyn, for the invitation to come and join with you this morning and share this space. I always appreciate a chance to see you. I always appreciate a chance to gather with good-hearted humans and be in the moment, the exploration of reality, and just the presence of connecting together. I know we all miss cuddle puddles in the middle of an actual space together, but this sort of virtual circle is, kind of as good as we get in some corners now. So I'm grateful for the time together, and thank you all for sharing it with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, and let's not forget, this is part of your third and newest album. So just want to.
That is true. Yeah, just last Friday or a couple Fridays ago, my third album, Return to the Sacred, just was released into the wild. So you can find that on my website.
On your website, yeah.
And on Spotify and iTunes and all the places where
music is found. Thank you.
So we got about what, 3 or 4 minutes here before, because you need to close out, right?
We've got 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Jai Jai Hanuman Sankatamurti Jai Jai Hanuman, Hanuman. Jai Jai Hanuman, Sankatamochan. Jai Jai Hanuman, Hanuman. Sitaram, 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 Jai Jai Hanuman. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Sitaram, Jai Jai Hanuman. Sitaram, 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 Jai Jai Hanuman. Jai Jai Hanuman, Sankatamochan. Jai Jai Hanuman, Hanuman. Sankatamochan is the aspect of the divine which relieves our troubles. Jai Jai Hanuman, Sankatamochan. Jai Jai Hanuman, Hanuman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
Just thinking, just feeling into all that's evolved in the 10 or 11 years that we've known each other.
Mhm.
A lot.
A good run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brought you to this space of sharing so openly and beautifully your gifts. And I'm grateful for that. Yeah. I love the music you've recorded and listen to it and use it often. So I'm glad there's more coming. And another one came out. I need to get my ears on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been starting to write a little more in English. So this album has more songs with than without English because I love mantra. I love the power and beauty and effectiveness of mantra recitation and chanting. And
Yeah.
I'm realizing that we live in a time where, we also need in our own mother tongue to have the images and the inspirations and the words that invite us into a new way of being also. So
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
trying to lean into that space as well.
So I'll be sending the recording out later as usual with contact info for Adam. You can definitely find him on Facebook just by looking up his name. And Kristen's here, and she's our daily intimacy, lovely co-presenter for next week. So I'd love, if you're still here, are you still here, Kristen? Yeah. Can you say a sentence about next week before we close?
Well, thank you, Robyn. This was my first time here, and it was lovely. And Adam, you're already queued up for the rest of my morning on Spotify. Thank you. So I'm a decluttering coach. I trained with Marie Kondo in the KonMari method. So next week I want to talk about how we can use decluttering to help us really connect with our true selves, talking about true selves like, as Adam was, and how we can use that process to really create a sanctuary for ourselves, a place where we can rejuvenate, where we can connect with ourselves and with others. And especially as we're facing another sheltering in for the winter, it seems like a useful topic. So I hope to see you all next week.
Definitely a useful topic. I'm looking forward to hearing more and learning. Thank you, Kristen. Thanks for coming this week as well. All right, everybody, have a beautiful day. Stay cozy, stay in your hearts. Spread the love first to yourself, and we'll see you soon. Thank you again, Adam.
Thank you, Robyn. Thank you, everybody. Ram Ram.